Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a question that honestly keeps a lot of audio engineers and church leaders up at night. How many solar panels do you actually need to run a church sound system? I mean, it sounds like a pretty straightforward math problem, right? But just guessing this answer instead of actually calculating it is exactly what leads to those sudden, devastating blackouts. We've all been there. The pastor is making this really critical, emotionally resonant point, or maybe the worship band is hitting the massive crescendo of the final song, and suddenly, total silence. The whole system just shuts down. Well, let's fix that forever. In this explainer, we're going to break down the precise engineering calculations required to reliably power your church audio equipment entirely off-grid. We're finally stepping away from those hopeful assumptions and finger-in-the-wind guesses, and we're diving straight into bulletproof math and real electrical principles. We are going to make absolutely sure your sound system never, ever fails when your congregation needs it most. Here's our step-by-step game plan for today. We'll start with number 1, the speaker wattage myth. Then we'll move on to number 2, calculating your true energy needs. After that, we'll hit number 3, sizing batteries and panels. And finally, number 4, current, cables, and safety. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the speaker wattage myth, and exactly why those speaker ratings are deceiving you. So there's this massive trap that a lot of folks fall into right out of the gate. People naturally just assume that the wattage printed on their speaker cabinets is the actual power draw of the entire system. You look at a massive speaker, you see 1,000 watts in bold letters, and you panic, thinking that's the literal load your solar panels have to support. But the reality is completely different. Think of your speakers kind of like the wheels on a car, and the amplifier as the engine. The wheels don't consume the gas, the engine does. Your solar panels are simply filling the gas tank for that engine. The amplifier is the real AC load that's actively pulling power from your inverter. The speakers themselves don't pull power directly. The crucial takeaway here is that speaker ratings really just indicate handling capability, not continuous power draw. Plus, those flashy 1,000-watt labels printed on the boxes, those are often just peak power. That's a brief fraction of a second when a bass drum hits. Your continuous power is usually a tiny fraction of that number. If you base your entire solar calculation on marketing numbers, your batteries are going to be wildly undersized and the system will shut down halfway through service. You have to calculate the draw of your amplifier, along with your mixer, wireless mics, and whatever media players you're using. Moving right along to section 2, calculating true energy needs, which is all about finding your continuous power draw. We're going to follow a really logical 4-step progressive sequence here. Step 1 is figuring out your base energy. Step 2 covers system losses. Step 3 is battery capacity, and Step 4 is sizing the solar panels. We start by looking at your gear to figure out exactly how much raw energy is required to get through a typical event. Let's look at the very first formula, and it's actually quite simple. Energy, which is measured in watt-hours, simply equals your total watts multiplied by the hours you use it. So to find our total energy consumption, we multiply our continuous load, let's say your entire audio setup draws 500 watts continuously, by your operating time. For a standard church service, we'll estimate a solid 4 hours. Doing that math gives us a base requirement of 2,000 watt-hours. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the same amount of energy it takes to run a standard kitchen microwave constantly for nearly 2 hours. That is the bare minimum raw energy needed just to keep the microphones on and the music playing. But we can't just stop there. We really have to account for real-world inefficiencies. When you're running an off-grid system, think of your inverter like a currency exchange booth at an international airport. It has to convert the DC power from your batteries into the AC power your sound system actually needs. But during that conversion process, it takes a roughly 10% fee in the form of heat loss. This means we have to take our base 2,000 watt-hours and divide it by 0.9 to find our true target. That simple division reveals that our true required energy is actually 2,222 watt-hours. Look, if we ignored that 10% exchange fee, the batteries would completely die right as the sermon peaked. We have to design for this higher, uncompromised target to guarantee the equipment runs for the full 4 hours without failing. Okay, section 3, sizing batteries and panels. This is where we translate that raw energy into physical hardware. With our precise energy target calculated, the burning question now is, how much physical battery capacity do we actually need to store 2,222 watt-hours? Well, to figure that out, we simply take our total required watt-hours and divide it by our chosen battery voltage. By dividing 2,222 watt-hours by a standard 24-volt battery system, we find out we need approximately 93 amp-hours of capacity. That is the exact size of the electrical fuel tank your battery bank needs to reliably power your service. Now, a quick aside, keep in mind this is your usable capacity. If you're going with traditional lead-acid batteries instead of lithium, you actually have to double this number to avoid deep discharging and completely ruining them. Next, we need to actually fill that battery using the sun. Formula 4 tells us that panel watts equals daily energy divided by peak sun hours. Now, peak sun hours doesn't just mean any time the sun is up. It specifically refers to the equivalent hours of direct, powerful overhead sunlight. So, assuming 5 hours of good, solid sunshine in your specific area, we divide our required 2,222 watt-hours by those 5 peak sun hours. That gives us a minimum solar panel requirement of about 444 watts. But here's the thing, unless you can perfectly schedule your Sunday services to strictly coincide with cloudless 70-degree days, you absolutely need a system margin. Weather is wildly unpredictable, and let's face it, panels get dusty. Bumping that up to a 600-watt array, which is super easy to achieve by just installing 2 300-watt panels, makes for a much safer and far more practical design. It guarantees you're going to charge those batteries even on slightly cloudy days. Finally, Section 4. Current, cables, and safety. Because protecting your equipment and your congregation is absolutely crucial. Having the right components on paper honestly won't matter at all if the physical installation presents fire and safety hazards. And this brings us to Formula 5. DC current draw equals power divided by voltage. For example, if you have an inverter pulling a 1,000-watt load from a 24-volt battery, it draws almost 42 amps of current. Let's put that 42 amps into perspective. The charger for your smartphone draws maybe 1 or 2 amps. 42 amps is a massive, highly dangerous amount of electrical current if it isn't respected. This single calculation dictates exactly how thick your copper cables must be and what size fuses are required. And this brilliantly illustrates a really common debate in off-grid audio setups, 12-volt versus 24-volt systems. Think of voltage like water pressure and current as the volume of water. A 12-volt system is like a low-pressure hose. You need a massive, thick pipe to move enough water for that power draw. But a 24-volt system doubles the pressure, so you can use smaller, cheaper, and safer wiring to get the exact same results. Lower current means improved efficiency, a much smaller voltage drop, and far less heat generation in your wiring. You literally have to be hyper-aware of these major risk points. You've got to account for large amplifiers drawing massive current surges the second they're switched on. Otherwise, an undersized inverter is just going to trip instantly. Furthermore, undersized cables can become dangerously hot, creating a very real fire hazard. You also have to guard against repeated deep battery discharges that destroy your battery life, overloading daisy-chained extension cords, and, of course, exposing your outdoor gear to water. So, how do we prevent a disaster? Well, always prioritize safety by properly sizing those conductors. Install your fuse protection as close to the battery as physically possible, and never, ever bypass those fuses. Never daisy-chain extension cords across the church floor, and keep your inverters and amplifiers well ventilated to prevent heat buildup and thermal shutdowns. And it goes without saying, but please protect any outdoor crusade equipment strictly from the rain. If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer, let it be this core philosophy. Accurate calculations matter more than guesswork. A properly calculated solar system provides beautifully quiet operation, no more annoying drone from a gas generator, and it delivers completely dependable power. Math truly is your absolute best defense against those embarrassing mid-service interruptions. Which brings us to our final thought. Is your church's sound system powered by hopeful guessing or by solid electrical engineering? Take a close look at your own church equipment this week and apply these formulas. You now have the exact blueprint to ensure your next worship service never goes dark. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep calculating, and I'll see you next time.